There are some common denominators here in terms of issues, including economic issues and whether or not people feel like they have advanced during his administration.
So I think on the economy, former President Trump is given the advantage consistently in the opinion polls. Our colleagues have run an analysis on the economic performance of both. And under that, you see President Biden coming out in terms of jobs creation and economic growth, but former President Trump's administration winning out in terms of inflation and income. Now, a lot of that is complicated by the pandemic. A lot of it is due to the stimulus that both administrations spent during that period. And, of course, there's a blame game between both political camps. But nonetheless, where we are right now, Trump's side has the edge, certainly among common perception among voters. Inflation this week, we saw the numbers for President Biden starting to head again in the right direction, but still hitting harder where it hurts, like housing costs and medical insurance and car costs. Jobs growth is holding up, however, for President Biden. So the economic story is front and central, and it hasn't that story hasn't yet been fully completed. I think we'll know more over the months ahead.
Remarkable piece of writing on the terminal today by our economics team. The cumulative increase in consumer prices during Biden's term likely will end up being higher than any other president in the past 40 years. This is a White House and a campaign looking for green shoots, but that's a stubborn statistic.
It's a dreadful statistic for any political administration around the world. It is, of course, a result of the pandemic. Again, this is where you get into the complications of the pandemic, right? What caused what, supply chains, stimulus and everything else. But we are where we are. As I mentioned a moment ago, inflation is starting to head back in the right direction again. That's probably good news for the administration. But, of course, don't forget, they can turn around and say, you cite one stat, they can cite jobs growth being the best since the 1960s. So you can slice and dice this in every way.
Of course, we've had a lot of analysis done here as well about the role that immigration plays in the economic outcomes that we are seeing, the contributions to the labor market and to growth. But of course, immigration and migration are two very different issues. And migration is something that is dogging this administration. In fact, earlier today, David Rubenstein, Carlyle co-founder and host of peer-to-peer conversations on Bloomberg Television, interviewed the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, and asked him about the issue of migration and asylum.
The fact of the matter is that we have an extraordinary number of people claiming asylum and a greatly reduced number of people qualifying for it. The reality is that people do claim asylum when, in fact, they are fleeing poverty, generalized violence, and that does not an asylum case make.
And so, Enda, it speaks to this idea that while there can be positive contributions from more people coming into the United States, people doing so illegally or at numbers that the U.S. is not really equipped to deal with, especially some of the cities in which they're impacted, it's a difficult issue on both ends.
It's very difficult. There's obviously a political angle to it. The economic angle, though, has become more clear-cut over the course of this year due to new analysis, and that is these extra immigrants provide much-needed worker. Companies complain of labour shortages. That's keeping down overall inflation. Remember the dreaded fear of a wage price spiral. So there's an economic case that the surge of immigration has been good for the economy and helped avoid the recession that so many people expected to come last year. But, of course, to your point, politically, it remains a very divisive, very toxic topic and very much at the centre of this campaign. And the economic story versus what's happening on the ground, there can often be a disconnect between both.
Enda, thanks for being with us, as always, and your insights. Bloomberg's Enda Curran getting us started on balance of power. The Friday edition, with a hearing by the House Oversight Committee last night. All the talk today in the nation's capital, it devolved into shouting and insults.
You know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman.
That's beneath even you.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aww.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are going to move, and we're going to take your words down.
This is not Saturday Night Live. And guess what? We could have kept playing that for a couple of more minutes. This is being called a new low today in Washington. An oversight committee hearing. You heard Marjorie Taylor Greene starting with the insults. She was talking to Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got involved. And then the whole thing went off the rails. Megan Scully is with us right now, who heads our congressional coverage here in Washington. This was a contempt of Congress resolution that was being aimed at the Attorney General. That was supposed to be the topic. Is this, in fact, a new low, and how the heck did we get here?
Well, I mean, it's all relative, right? There used to be spittoons in the hallway, and there was a duel on the House floor. So, no, I wouldn't say it's a new low for Congress. But it is certainly, a continuing trend, these personal insults that are being traded. It really sort of started with Trump, would often attack people's appearances, and still does. And it has become normalized, really, in American politics. So it is something, I was stunned when I saw that. It's not something you see every day.
Well, it underscores the dysfunction. I realize maybe we could use some spittoons in the hearing room, but it underscores the lack of action, the lack of the ability to get anything done.
Yes. Well, they have gotten some things done, right? They just passed the FAA legislation, the Ukraine spending deal. But everything is very difficult. It is it's excruciating politically to pass even standard government spending bills.
Yeah, well, and on the subject of spending bills, the Appropriations Chair, Tom Cole, yesterday did release some top-line figures that don't necessarily seem to be in line with that side deal that was attached to the debt limit deal. That's a fight that we'll have to save for another day, probably until after the election, if we're being honest. But there may be more legislating that needs to get done in the meantime or not. Yesterday, Joe and I spoke with Senator Joni Ernst, the Republican from Iowa, about the farm bill. Joe asked her if it was going to get done this year, and this is what she said.
We are really struggling with the farm bill this year, and it is a $1.5 trillion price tag in the United States Senate, but only about 14 to 15% of that goes to farm programs. We need to rename the bill. We're not going to pass it this year. We'll take another shot early next year. We'll have to extend the 2018 farm bill.
Is her lack of optimism misplaced or just telling the truth?
It's quite an admission for the senator from Iowa, one of the largest agriculture-producing states, to make that admission. And she's right in terms of where the hang-ups are on this bill. There are some issues with farm subsidies and other farm programs, but where the real fights are between the two parties are on the food assistance, the nutrition, and also on climate. There are some climate provisions the Democrats want to attach to this farm bill, and even Republicans are even going and trying to repeal provisions that were in the IRA, Biden's bipartisan climate package, as part of this farm bill. So it's really becoming this sort of this battleground in the months before the election, where tensions, as we saw last night, are very high on Capitol Hill, and everything is becoming a fight.